On to the Heavy Clubman Class. Minimum driver weight here is 85 kilos. Only Trevor Randall, Jamie Crease and Dan Underhill, along with Harry Landy, have moved up to Premier Class. There is strength in depth in Heavy Clubman, and that strength is only complemented by the arrival of heavyweight champion Gerard Moore and all of the 2012 heavyweight top 10. Along with the return of James Child, a race winner in 2011, and Welsh national easy kart champion Andy Gould, it might make this the most entertaining championship as the season progresses. Running late in the day after qualifying, Heat 1 winner Stephen Jennings, fourth in the championship last year, starts from pole position, ahead of Heat 2 winner Stuart Martin. James Child and Club 100 sprint debutant Aidan Ball start on row 2, Andy Gould and Gerard Moore on row 3. James Taylor, a race winner in 2011, has taken time out from his modelling commitments in the US to fly in and to join Dan Hoy, 2011 heavyweight champion, on row 4. Mike Bodner and John Paddock round out the top 10 of this 25-kart grid. Union flag at the ready at start finish. We're under starters orders. The Union flag goes and Stephen Jennings has got the drop on James Child and Stuart Martin. Heavy contact into turn 1. Aidan Ball in the green coming through with Gerard Moore. Andy Gould looking down the inside of Stuart Martin, who's going backwards. Gould trying to go through on Aidan Ball. Waves him back through, and it may prove costly though, because Stuart Martin, Dan Hoy, James Taylor, all Moore. Andy Gould in one corner, into the S's, side by side with Taylor, on board with John Paddock. Gould on the right, down into Sam Sweet, and he appears to lose it on his own, and collects James Taylor and Stuart Martin, back on board with Paddock. He loses out to Jonathan Elliott, on board with Jamie Bird, down the inside of Aidan Ball for 5th. Rounding out lap 1, it's Stephen Jennings leading by 1.4 seconds ahead of James Child, Gerard Moore, Dan Hoy. Gap then to Jamie Bird. On board here with Mark Burrell. Nigel Proctor ahead of us in 15th as they go down to Conways. And Dan Hoy down the inside of Gerard Moore into hairpin 1. Can he get it done? No, he can't. Proctor down the inside of Jose Sola. He's got it done, and it's only worked out for Mark Burrell so long as he can get turned in ahead. Stephen Jennings clear. Child, Moore under pressure from Hoy. Yellow flag out there, of course, for James Taylor, Stuart Martin and Andy Gould. That's cleared now, so they're on their way. Elliott mighty down at Paddock. This time he picks off Mike Bodner. Bodner coming straight back at him at Garda. Elliott stays in 7th place though. So Jennings, Child under pressure from Moore and Hoy. Through over start finish. Stuart Martin's a lap down, of course. I think I saw Angus both there lining up. Alex Withington for turn 1, Moore through to 2nd. Dan Hoy now keeping a watching brief, looking to get a good run out of hairpin 2 for a move down at Paddock. Through the S's they come. Moore, Child, Hoy into Symes sweep. Oh, James Child caught the tyres and the curb heavily on the inside of the Symes sweep there. Will it cost him? He's lost momentum out of Paddock. Here comes Dan Hoy down the inside, pod to pod. But Hoy was already there and he's through to 3rd place. His next target is Gerard Moore. Stuart Martin here, getting in the way. Jonathan Elliott, Mike Bodner. Elliott in 7th. Over start finish. We're riding on board with John Paddock. Stuart Martin not winning any friends. Oliver Knight's down the inside of Aidan Ball, squeezing Stuart Martin towards the tyre barrier. And it's fairly brutal in the back of the bus as well. On board with Mark Borelli's lost out to Jose Sola, and Stuart Kirk's gone round the outside of him, and Alex Withington and Nigel Proctor's gone up the inside. Ooh, coming back at him in the S's. Bit of a squeeze. They've all made it through, but Burrell's lost positions down at Paddock. Barney Langley having a look at the inside of Aidan Ball. Martin Gurnett coming through in 12th place in the red behind him. Stuart Martin still being shuffled down the line, forcing Langley to go the long way round, waving him through up to Cafe Curve. Won't help Martin Gurnett though. He now has Jose Sola right on his bumper, with Angus both in the orange. Stuart Kirk joining in as well behind. On the brakes, Jose Sola goes through on Martin Gurnett. Next man up is Angus Both. Has a think about the inside of hairpin 2. Doesn't do it. May prove costly for both though, as Stuart Kirk gets on his bumper. Down Symes Sweet. Looked as though Barney Langley was closing on Aidan Ball. That would be for 10th place. We're back on board here. James Child ahead of us. We're on board with Jamie Bird. Through Cafe Curve, and Jamie Bird is looking for a way by James Child. Child forced to go narrow. The entrance to turn 1's looking fairly rough these days. Bouncing across the changes of tarmac, up to hairpin 2. Jamie Bird trying to get a good run off the corner. He's close into the S's. Clipping the curbs. Don't want to clip this one. Child's already done that, cost him a spot. Into Pullman's, you can drive across that one. Drop it into the hole on the inside of Paddock. Langley inside of Oliver Knights from a long way back, and at speed. Good move. That shot from Aidan Ball on the back of Knights might let him back in at Garda. Ball's going to go around the pair of them. Aidan Ball picks up the spots as Knights and Langley get involved. So coming through now to start lap 7, Aidan Ball moves up to 9th. Back on board with Mark Burrell. Down into turn 1. He's opened the door for Nigel Proctor. Pin 1, Proctor's there. Good friends, these two drivers, I believe. Stephen Jennings continues to lead. His lead is 3.6 seconds on Gerard Moore, who's got 3/10 on Dan Hoy. James Child ahead of us, on board with Jamie Bird in 5th. Into Garda, over the curbs. Nice line, flat through centre. Flat all the way now to the breaking point for Conways. James Taylor, he may be a lap down, but that fastest lap could prove useful, could put him on the front row, if not on pole position, as it would be right now for the second final. The field stream through. It's beginning to settle down just a little bit. Back on board with Jamie Bird. Still trying to get close enough to James Child. Appears to be strong through the hairpins at the top. Can he make a move down at Paddock? Looking good. He's lost a kart length. James Child mighty on the brakes. Good line. Into Garda. James Child missed his apex there at Garda. Can Jamie Bird take advantage? He's closing through Cafe Curve. Not close enough for Conways. The oldest part of the circuit. Looks as though it's in need of a bit of TLC. Too many hard winters, I fear. Oliver Knights running in 10th place, holding off Barney Langley. Down to hairpin 1, Jose Sola locking up slightly, trying to hold off Angus Both. Langley to the inside of hairpin 2, gets it done, and Both was going on Sola in the background there, side by side off the corner. Sola takes it back. Martin Gurnin holding off Stuart Kirk. Alex Withington has got Mark Burrell on his bumper, been there a while. Langley pulling out a kart length on Oliver Knights. Now he's through to 10th. Back up towards the front, Jamie Bird. Looked as though he might have had a lunge there at Conways. Thinks better of it. Stays on the bumper of 4th place, James Child. Not close enough for hairpin 2. Oh, Child makes a mistake, locks it up, runs wide. All the invitation that Jamie Bird needs, and he's through into the S's. They've lost ground on Dan Hoy as well. Child, is he going to come straight back at him in a Paddock? He's right on his bumper. Didn't make the move. Is he thinking more about Garda? Bird just about makes his apex. Gets centre about right. Child right there. Perhaps he's stronger at the top of the circuit. Looking to the inside. Not quite on, or not worth taking the risk. This is lap 11 of 13. Not too long left now. John Paddock is holding off Aidan Ball for 8th. Langley, Knights, Jose Sola still holding off Angus Both. James Taylor has been lapped, as has Andy Gould and Miles Sharman, by the leader. Beginning to space out at the front. Battle on here, Paddock and Aidan Ball. Ball looking at the inside at Paddock, goes through, nice move, classic Buckmore move, and the classic counter from John Paddock, taking it straight back at Garda. So no change there then, but damn good to watch. Langley takes a look over his shoulder at Knights. They move on to their penultimate lap, and look at this. Stuart Kirk's got ahead of Martin Gurnett, who's busy trying to hold off Alex Withington. So Kirk has moved up to 14th. We're on board with Mark Burrell. Alex Withington almost a four-wheel drift mid-corner there, getting a run on Gurnett. Gurnett gives him room. But is this a chance for Burrell to go round the outside and Martin Gurnett into hairpin 2? Not likely. So Paddock has pulled out a kart length or two on Aidan Ball to make 8th place secure. Stephen Jennings took a look over his shoulder. He knows he's heading for victory so long as he keeps it on the track for one more lap. Gerard Moore comes through, 3.6 seconds down. Dan Hoy, Jamie Bird, James Charles, Jonathan Elliott and Mike Bodner gap then to John Paddock. Aidan Ball, Barney Langley in 10th. And Martin Gurnett has fallen to the back of the chasing group. He's now down in 18th place. So Jennings coming through Syme sweep. James Taylor ahead of him. Shouldn't be a factor. Are there any battles still on? Paddock has got Aidan Ball fairly close. Aidan Ball might have one last chance down at Paddock. But Stephen Jennings is out of the centre corner. He's up to Cafe Curve. He's slowing down. He's coasting to a first win of the season. Second place will be Gerard Moore. An excellent start to Heavy Clubman. Dan Hoy is third. Jamie Bird, James Child round out the top 5. James Taylor has pole position for Final 2 with his fastest lap set in Final 1. Although he might regret that dark visor in the growing darkness, but those are the dangers of racing in February. Final 1 winner Stephen Jennings joins him on the front row. Jonathan Elliott and Gerard Moore start on row 2. Aidan Ball and Dan Hoy, looking to improve on his third in Final 1, start on row 3. Miles Sharman, Alex Withington, Barney Langley and Stuart Kirk round out the top 10. It's the last race of the day. The Union flag is flying. James Taylor has got the jump on the field. I saw Dan Hoy break very early from formation to get on the inside. A lot of contact, but it's Taylor ahead of John Elliott. And here comes Dan Hoy down the inside of Gerard Moore into hairpin 1. More contact. Stephen Jennings has come out of the corner in third. Aidan Ball, Gerard Moore, Dan Hoy on board with Andy Gould. He started 11th, he had a good start, but I think he's starting to go backwards now. Barney Langley's gone back past him. Miles Sharman ahead of him. James Taylor's got a few kart lengths on Elliott. Jennings under pressure from Aidan Ball, coming down the inside into Paddock. Good move, and Gerard Moore and Dan Hoy are going to hang Stephen Jennings out to dry. And Moore's gone straight on to Aidan Ball, and Dan Hoy's looking for a way by as well. Round the outside through the centre chicane, up to Cafe Curve. Who's going to have third place? It's Gerard Moore. Aidan Ball and Dan Hoy side by side through Cafe Curve. It's 3 wide on the way to Conways. Dan Hoy gets in there first and has 4th place ahead of Aidan Ball. And Stephen Jennings is coming down the inside into hairpin 1 and is going to go through. Barney Langley's going to find himself on the wrong side for hairpin 2. He won't get past Aidan Ball and he might lose out again to Andy Gould. Into the S's. Downhill through Syme Sweep. Now don't let the cameras fool you. It is really very dark. Down at Paddock. Sweeping in, Oliver Knights down the inside of Giles Handley, runs him out wide. Stuart Martin's gone past Mark Burrell. Handley had to take to the gear block there through the tyres, and Mark Burrell's lost out to Angus Both and finds himself down in 19th place. Nigel Proctor, John Paddock, side by side up the Cafe Curve. Paddock on the outside, and Dan Hoy's making a move on Jonathan Elliott, giving him a bit of a rub as well, but he's through. Stephen Jennings diving in as well. Will find himself isolated on the outside. Back on board with Andy Gould. I think he had a bit of contact there with Aidan Ball and possibly Barney Langley. Sweeping downhill, and Gerard Moore is closing on race leader James Taylor. over the curbs, mostly on the track, sometimes not. Alex Withington trying to close on. Jamie Bird ahead of us, joining in this fight for third place. The battle on is at the front as well. Aidan Ball, Stephen Jennings side by side through Cafe Curve. I don't know what it is about racing in the dark, but it always seems to make things faster. Andy Gould here, biting on the bumper of Barney Langley, and now rubbing Stephen Jennings up the wrong way as well. Oh, and he's made a mistake. Oh, there's a squeeze going on there as well. Through the S's, downhill, and game on at the front. James Taylor's leading Jared Moore and Dan Hoy, but I'm not sure how much longer James Taylor's going to be able to hold him off. Into Garda, and Jared Moore goes for the lead and runs wide, and Dan Hoy's got the lead. Aidan Ball's going to take James Taylor up to Cafe Curve as well, side by side. The squeeze is on, Taylor hangs on to third. Sweeping out of turn one, dark visors for Aidan Ball and James Taylor. They may struggle. Oliver Knight's diving through on James Child. Knight's having a strong run in this final. More contact. It's beginning to get a little bit no holds barred. Who's on the outside of James Child? It's Stuart Martin. Well, he's fairly robust at the best of times. Down the inside, Aidan Ball for third. Down at Paddock. Back on board with Gould from a long way back on Stephen Jennings. Side by side, Jennings will hold the spot. Going uphill with Jose Sola now on the bumper of Andy Gould. Dan Hoy's got out front and has put the hammer down and is trying to pull clear. Gould closing in once again on Stephen Jennings, down to hairpin one. Bit crossed up under braking, he may have lost out to Jose Sola. Now that camera is a bit more like natural light, and that's how difficult it is. Imagine racing at that speed with no lights. Downhill they come. Barney Langley closing in on Jonathan Elliott. Elliott coming through in fifth place. His next target is James Taylor, and he's closing in through Garda. On board with Nigel Proctor in 23rd. That's Martin Gurnett ahead of us. Oh, contact, and he's taken out John Paddock. Oh, and Martin Gurnett is through the tyres. And Stuart Kirk is lucky not to get collected by a set of errant tyres. James Taylor side by side with Aidan Ball into hairpin one. Well, if they both made it round, the road will go in Ball's favour. Cart number 30, Phil Rose, has gone past Nigel Proctor in the fallout of that incident with Martin Gurnett and John Paddock. Aidan Ball is ahead of James Taylor. Taylor under pressure from Jonathan Elliott. Barney Langley. Elliott in very late on James Taylor, forcing him to the gear block. Barney Langley, cheeky move on Jonathan Elliott. He's up to fifth. James Taylor hangs on to fourth side by side. Elliott and Jennings going uphill. Gould is there, and on the right of Andy Gould is Jose Sola. A cross-start finish to start lap number 8. Jose Sola's got ahead of Andy Gould. And Ball is now trying to find a way past Jared Moore into hairpin number 1. Where to look next? It's difficult to work out what's going on in the darkness. We're on board here, I believe, with Alex Withington coming through the S's in 10th. Jared Moore under pressure from Aidan Ball in file number 2. Whoa, he goes a long way into Paddock. Well, he's been mighty on the brakes down at Paddock all day, but not that mighty. Jose Sola picks off Jonathan Elliott. It's turning into a bit of a bitch slapping match. And Gould's going to try and go round the outside of Jonathan Elliott. Thinks better of it. Slight lift. Oh, he's over that curb, the sparks. And Withington's going to have a run down into turn 1. On board with James Child, who's gone round. Was the contact there? I think it was Stuart Martin behind him. Mike Bodner holding off Andy Gould into hairpin 1. Now he's got to hold him off into hairpin 2. And there's more contact over the curbs. I think that's Jamie Bird on the outside. Through the S's, down at the bottom of the hill. Dan Hoy leads, Jared Moore, Aidan Ball, James Taylor, Barney Langley, Stephen Jennings, Jose Sola, Jonathan Elliott, Alex Withington, Mike Bodner in 10th, on board with Andy Gould in 11th. Well, Dan Hoy has made his escape. He's 2.8 seconds up the road for the battle for second, led by Jared Moore. Aidan Ball. There's a hand out there. Yeah, yellow flags are waving. That must be for James Child. Battle on again, and it's Moore, Aidan Ball, James Taylor with his visor open, trying to see where the track goes in the darkness. Looking down the inside into hairpin 2. Can he get it done? He can't. A chance maybe is for Barney Langley or Stephen Jennings, who are in close company with James Taylor. Sweeping downhill into Pullman's. Now try and haul it up on the brakes for Paddock. Try and keep the momentum up though for a run over to Garda. Taylor's visor open once again. He's obviously concerned about his eyesight. Should have brought a clear visor. And Barney Langley's going round the outside of Cafe Curve. Very brave. Over the curb. Sparks fly. Can't get it done. And he may lose out to Stephen Jennings. But he's going to have to run round the outside of Conway's. And the road now is back in Barney Langley's favour. And Jose Sola may punish him as well. Andy Gould's lost out to Stuart Martin, Oliver Knights. This is Mark Burrell. He's behind Nigel Proctor. Downhill. Here they come. Aidan Boyle, is he going to line up Jared Moore again? Not quite as far back this time. Gets it stopped and turned. Good move from Aidan Ball. He moves through to second. On board with Alex Withington. Gets inside of Jose Sola. Has to give the spot back. So the race for second then, Aidan Ball, Jared Moore. We're moving on to the penultimate lap. This race has flown by, and I still think there's plenty left in it. Down at hairpin number 1, Aidan Ball. Got a cart length now on Jared Moore. Have they seen off James Taylor? Or is he more concerned with Barney Langley and Stephen Jennings? Dan Hoy comfortably pulling clear to a first win of the season. Langley looks to be lining up Taylor for Paddock. Not quite there. Stephen Jennings appears to be spent. On board with Withington. Down the inside into Garda. He tried this before, it didn't work. It hasn't worked this time either. Final lap board goes out to race leader Dan Hoy. His lead is 3.3 seconds over Aidan Ball, Jared Moore. James Taylor was looking over his shoulder for Barney Langley. On board with Andy Gould, he's coming through. In 14th, now finds himself demoted by Giles Handley. Can he get the spot back into hairpin number 1? Yes, he can. And I expect him to run him out wide, and he does that as well. Very narrow into hairpin 2. Stuart Martin very slow off hairpin 2. Dan Hoy is heading for the win. Aidan Ball looks to be holding on to second. A late move here from Jared Moore, side by side off the corner. And he's got it done. One last corner now for Barney Langley on James Taylor in the fight for 4th. Taylor's going to hang on. Coming out the final corner then, it's Dan Hoy taking a win in final 2, and it's neck and neck over the line, but Jared Moore gets second place ahead of Aidan Ball. Dan Hoy and Jared Moore share the championship lead heading towards Bayford. Well, darkness fell over the trophy ceremony, and with no portable lights, it was like an episode of Ghost Watch. Club 100 head off to Bayford Meadows in early April for round 2, hopefully for everyone. They'll be thawed out by then, and we'll be blessed with warm spring sunshine, as karting, like Just Racing Magazine's coverage, always looks better under blue skies. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show. That's it for now, and we'll see you next time on Just Racing Magazine.